Dice Tower Tonight, episode 58.
PAX-tastic.
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we wrap up 2019 by talking about our experiences at PAX Unplugged and finding out how Crystal celebrated her birthday yesterday. Also, I have a birthday challenge for Crystal and the chat. We talk about some recent play sessions, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the rainbow cupcake to my vanilla ice cream, Crystal Pisano.
I mean, those two things do go very well together.
They do, and you know, a fine vanilla bean ice cream is nothing to sneeze at.
The older I get, the more I realize that. Because I think as a kid, it was always like vanilla, but like a really good vanilla ice cream, yeah, that is a delightful thing.
So, what did you do for your birthday yesterday? Happy birthday, by the way, slightly belated.
Thank you. Well, so yesterday was a Tuesday, as most people will realize, yes. And I did go to work, so I didn't have the day off or anything like that. And so I was at work most of the day. My coworkers all got me a card and they got cakes from a little place called Nothing Bunt Cakes that's here in Vegas. That's really good. But the thing that I did to celebrate my birthday, which is kind of ridiculous, is I attempted to do 35 acts of kindness to celebrate my 35th birthday. I didn't get all the way to 35. I'm going to keep working at it. Okay. But I did a whole bunch, and some friends also did some to help me get to 35. So I posted about it on Twitter if people want to go to my Twitter account and look at the things that I did. But it was really, really fun. And I'm going to probably do it again in the future because I'm a very selfish person and it made me feel really good to do good things for other people. So, yeah, so it was really fun.
And it can get you in the mood for Christmas next week as well. The
Absolutely.
Spirit of giving and doing fine things for others.
That's one of the benefits, I think, of having a birthday in December is that, like, people, I think, are already inclined to, like, if a stranger comes up to them to hand them something, like, it's not quite as off-putting in this time of year, I think, which did happen sometimes. And some of the things that I didn't get to see the end results of, like, stuff like I went to a local McDonald's and bought some gift cards and left them with the cashier saying the next family is to come up and buy Happy Meals, gift them the gift card as they're purchasing the hat. So basically... Okay. Almost a guarantee that there's kids involved, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, all right. So yeah. It's sort of a special day on the Dice Tower feed. We have a bit of a double feature today. So thank you, everyone who's already joined us for the live chat. You can always join us live, as well as watching this program recorded on YouTube. But if you're joining us live, we have another show after this one, premiering on the Dice Tower tonight, the Apptastic program with Mandy and Suzanne, their new streaming show where they play a game against each other from their cross-continent positions. What is on their docket for the first Apptastic? I forget exactly what it is.
I believe they're playing Mystic Vale.
That's right.
If I remember correctly, which I've never played before, either in its physical form or digital form. So I'm really curious to see how that's going to go.
So I'm excited for the launch of that brand new show. So we should get things moving, Crystal, and talk about a game you've played recently.
Absolutely. Well, what's funny is I haven't played a lot of games since PAX. I've been pretty busy, but I did get something for my birthday, and it's a game I haven't gotten to play my copy of yet, but I have played in the past, and that is, I have the back slid here, Slide Quest.
Oh,
so
awesome.
This one released, I believe, at Origins this year. I was not at Origins, but I got to try it out at BGG Con. Dice Tower Con in July. And I was kind of like hemming and hawing about whether I should buy it or not. And by the time I went over to the blue-orange booth, they were sold out. So I didn't get a chance.
Exactly the same thing.
That's funny. Yeah, like it's so if you noticed on the box it says the video game board game. I'm going to have to show you all what this looks like. Apologies for the shaky camera. If you have any motion sensitivities, be warned. I'm going to pick up my webcam. So what's neat about this game is it actually takes place in the box. So you set up the board by inserting this little plastic insert with these 4 plastic levers on the sides. This is a cooperative game where you are trying to complete levels like you would in a video game. But what's neat is when you move these little levers, here, I'm going to put them over here, your little hero moves across the board. Also, these other pieces that I just stuck in the box that don't belong there slide around too. Sorry for the shakiness. But yeah, so you can see there's enemies on the board and other things. You as a group, if you have 4 people around here, or maybe 2 people controlling 2 levers each, are trying to move your hero around to knock out the bad guys, collect life, and not fall in the holes. Oh no! It obviously looks a lot more exciting when it's not a single person attempting to do all of it on their own. Although if I had both of my hands, you can play this solo. You can manipulate the board on your own. There's, I think, 20 different levels included in the box. It's all set up right now, but this colored piece is just flat on the plastic and held together by these pieces here. Every single board or every level is different. There's different obstacles and different goals you have to complete. Sometimes you have to make the hero go along a specific path without touching certain things or with actually touching certain things. On this one, this little orange enemy here has to end up in this hole, and the little green enemies I don't think have to go into any specific hole. You can kind of knock them wherever you want. But it is really, really neat as a cooperative game because it's silly but also strategic. And the little guy here has a ball bearing in the bottom of him. So he's weighted. So he slides really easily, but not so easily that he's impossible to control. So it's a lot of fun. I think this would be a great one for families, especially if you have kids that have some pretty decent fine motor skills, a little bit older. This one would be really fun to play with them. But honestly, I don't have any kids and I love it. So I think this one is a great one from Blue Orange, and it was on sale recently. So I know a few people picked up copies of it. I actually got a copy of it gifted to me for my birthday. So that is Slide Quest by Blue Orange Games. I'll show off the box lid again so people can see it.
Yeah, I had sort of forgotten about this one, and as I said, I decided to buy it, and they were gone, and I forgot, and now you've interested me in it again. Maybe a post-Christmas purchase. We'll see.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'd want to play that with my kids. I have 2 games to talk about that I did play with my kids. A pair of Haba games that I got as review copies at Essen, at Spiel. The first is called Funkenschlotz or Funkelschatz das Drakenei, which is Dragon's Breath the Hatching. This is
so new Dragon's Breath game.
Yes, it's a standalone sequel, I guess. It could be used as an expansion. I have not played the original Dragon's Breath, but I hear this is very similar. Where's that 3rd ring? So, you've got a trio of these rings, which I can't get the camera because I keep dropping them. Okay, so rings. They go in a little sort of nest, and you have it resting on a cardboard token, and you fill this nest with gems. Also, on top of the nest, here's the gems, but on the top of the nest is this egg right there, and that sits on the top. One player gets to play the Dragon Mother, and they pull off the top ring, causing some of those gems to spill out. Not too many in the beginning. The more will spill out as you pull off more rings. They, however, need to keep that egg from falling. If the egg falls, they have a slight penalty. This could be called hate drafting the intro game, because you've got a bunch of basically order cards. There's 3 in front of each player. And the Dragon Mom on their round doesn't get to complete any order cards. They are simply drafting gems to take them away from the other players. If the egg does not drop, the Dragon Mother gets to take 2 gems to take them away from the other players. If they did drop the egg, however, they only get to take away 1 gem from the other players. But the other players get to go first before the Dragon Mom goes. And so everybody is drafting gems to complete orders. The more difficult the order is to complete, the more points it will be worth. And then the dragon mom goes, nope, you can't do that, and is looking around the table and taking those away. And you continue until everybody's been the dragon mom once. Very simple order completion game, drafting game. I don't know, as I said, how it combines with Dragon's Breath, but it can, and there are rules online for doing so. The kids, while we had no trouble with this game, it was almost too simple for my kids. It does say 6 and up, mine are 8 and 11. It just seemed like there weren't too many decisions to be made. You grabbed the most scarce gem that you needed, knowing what other people are looking for, and if you're the dragon mom, what does everybody need? Oh, I'm going to take that one red gem that's sitting there that I know you need to complete that order. And near the end of the game, when it's the last round, it becomes very obvious whether you're going to be able to complete orders or not. So, okay, but not my favorite sort of thing.
So it feels like this is kind of mean for a kid's game too, then a little bit, right? Yeah, like.
Oh yeah, there's. Like I said, it's hate drafting. It's very much, and because the dragon mom can't do anything, it is solely, I am taking gems away from you guys. That's
okay.
It. And then I guess you do have the potential of picking on one child over the others, which could be bad if say I always picked on the younger child, he would be pretty upset. So you have to sort of even it out and hurt everybody equally. But I guess if you do pick on one, then the other kids are going to have a better chance at winning. But I could see that happening with the kids picking on me, which actually did happen.
I mean, that happens in every game you play with them, I think, generally.
So, yeah, that might be another knock against it. We liked this game a lot better. This is, in German, Club der Tatzen, which I think is the Club of Cats. The English title is Cloaked Cats. Sometimes the English title doesn't really match what it says on the box in German. In Cloaked Cats, this is a deduction game for 7 and up, I believe. You've got this little fan. If I'm red, I'm going to have this fan in front of me, and I'm going to have a handful of trait cards. Are these the trait cards? I think these are the trait cards. There's lots of different traits. So I might have one card that says this pose of cats. And I might have another card that says cats with martinis. And a third card that says white, the color of cat. And I've got all 3 of those. I might even have duplicates that are the same, 2 different poses or 2 different colors or whatever. That is the type of cat I am. Then, come on, I'm digging in. Oh, here they are. They're all the way down here. Then there are all these cat cards. Now you'll note that cat is in a particular pose. He is a particular color, blue. He also has stripes. You could be striped or polka dot, not polka dotted, but spotted, or no markings at all. You have a hand of those. On your turn, you're going to play one of those out into the center of the table, and then you and everyone else has to put a marker on that cat if it shares one of your traits. So it doesn't, I don't know which one it is, but if I was striped or blue or in that position, I'd have to put one of my markers on that cat. Then I have the opportunity to guess one of the traits of someone else at the table. If I am correct, I get one of their markers, sort of as a point. If I'm incorrect, they take one of my markers as a point. This continues until one player has had all 3 of their traits guessed, and then you count up points. You get 1 point for each correct guess you got, 1 point for each incorrect guess that the others guessed against you, and I think you get a point for every trait that was not guessed. And that's it. This one was far more interesting. My son immediately looked at it and said, so this is a combination of Sherlock Holmes and Dragon Dinosaur Tea Party.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty much it. But there was a lot more to this. It's a much meatier game. Which card do I play? How do I avoid giving information about my traits to my opponents, but still get information from them? It is still pretty straightforward, because eventually you have this whole tableau of cards on the table, with markers on them, and you sort of look at them all and go, okay, the only possible thing that this could be is that you have stripes. And so then you can guess that. And that logic is not terribly difficult, but it is a far more interesting product than the Dragon game. So I liked Club Cats quite a bit. And I think that will show up more often with the kids than Dragon's Breath will. My only complaint is that it is not terribly colorblind friendly. And even, I mean, there's like 7 different colors, and some are very close. There's a red and a purple. In fact, I think I can dig a summary card out here. Yeah, here we go. You can see there's eight different colors. You can see the different colors there. And 2 of those, there's a brown and a purple and a red, and they can all look relatively similar. And when you just throw a cat card out without being able to compare them, especially depending on how good the lighting is, it can be a little tricky. So I almost wish that there had been some sort of symbol on them, but then that would have made it less language independent. I totally understand.
Right.
It's a minor quibble, but especially if you have color vision issues, that would be a problem. So something to be aware of, but still an interesting intro to deduction games with Club Cats from Haba. Both games from Haba.
Very cool. Yeah, that one sounds neat. I'm horrible at like logic and deduction style games. I enjoy playing them, but I'm that person who, like, when I was a kid and I was playing Clue, or even as an adult playing Clue, I'm the one that's like making furious notes on my piece of paper, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I got this all figured out. And then I'd be like, okay, it's clearly Colonel Mustard in the study with the wrench. And everyone's like, yeah, no, all of those things are wrong. And I'm like, what did I do? I don't, for whatever reason, I'm just really bad at those types of games.
But
and
you had the confidence, which is step 1.
I mean, I try. Well, it's funny because there's another game. I think it's out of print now. It's called Incognito. Have you ever played it?
I haven't played it. I did get a look at. There was a reprint maybe 3-4 years ago from Ares Games.
Okay.
I looked at it, but didn't ever get a chance to play it.
Yeah, my friends made the mistake of playing that one with me, and it's in that game you're on a team with somebody else, but you don't know who your teammate is, and there's ways to figure out who it is via things that are happening in the course of the game, deduction, all of that. And I was certain that my friend was my teammate, and my other friend was my teammate, and was literally like, in her head was like, Crystal, what are you doing? This is not why? No, stop. And I went off the rails, and it was an amusing experience for everyone. But no one's asked me to play that game again, and I can't figure out why.
Interesting. Well, maybe you should back up to Club Cats and, You know
what? I think that is probably more my speed.
Okay, are you ready to play a game, Crystal?
I am definitely ready to play a game.
Okay. This one's a pretty straightforward game. And I was inspired by the fact that you just celebrated your birthday yesterday. And so we're going to play a birthday guessing game. You are welcome to get help from the chat if they can give you hints if you'd like. But I'm going to give you a designer and then give you another famous designer. And your job is to guess whether that designer is older or younger than the first designer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I have 10 questions, actually 11 designers on the list, and we'll see how many you can get. One quick note that this is not the most diverse list. As I was looking for designers to put on this list, I could only put in ones that had shared their actual birthday online. And I did find that many younger designers, and particularly many female designers, didn't put that online. We could talk about that or not. There could be many reasons why you wouldn't share your actual age online. These folks did. I just wanted to mention that before
That's totally
getting
cool.
into the list.
And it's really, honestly, it's fine for anyone, whether you want to share your age or you don't. Sure. That's cool. I turned 35 yesterday, and I'm proud of it.
Congratulations. You little baby, according to me. Okay.
I'll take it.
All right, so we're going to begin with Friedemann Friese, one of my favorite designers, designer of Power Grid and the new Fast Sloths game that I haven't had a chance to play yet.
Famous for his green hair.
Absolutely. Friedemann is 49 years old. He was born June 5th, 1970. He is our seed designer.
Okay.
So my question to you is Uwe Rosenberg older or younger than Friedemann Friese?
So this is a game where I'm fully going to embarrass myself because I am literally the worst at guessing a person's age based on what they look like. So I just don't generally. So any designers who happen to watch this, which I imagine are not many, but I apologize in advance. So Uwe Rosenberg. So Friedemann Friese seems like a younger designer in my head, but 49, like, that's not super young. Uwe Rosenberg. I'm gonna guess Uwe Rosenberg is younger than Friedemann Friese.
Uwe Rosenberg was born March 27th, 1970, just a few months before Friedemann Friese, which means he's older.
Older, okay.
So I guess that was maybe a little mean because it was the same year. Let's go for a bigger spread. So Rosenberg, 1970. Ignacy Cevicek. Is Ignacy older or younger than Uwe Rosenberg?
Okay. So we're talking 49. Is Ignacy in his 50s? I cannot fathom that Ignacy is in his 50s based on what I've seen of him. I would guess he's probably not. Well, I don't. This is where I'm going to get myself in trouble. Is if I talk through this, I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm just going to say that Ignacy is younger than Uwe.
Ignacy is younger. He was born September 23rd, 1976.
Okay, so 6 years.
You get the point on that one. So, from Ignacy, is Eric Lang older or younger than Ignacy Cevicek?
So we're saying so 43 would have been the age of Ignacy then, or thereabouts, based on what part of the year he was born in. Is Eric Lang older or younger than 43? Is the question. Oh, man. And I have not hung out with a lot of designers. I've seen pictures of a lot of them. I've seen some of them in passing. Eric Lang, I have actually spoken to. Mm-hmm. I interviewed him for my Dice Tower Con vlog. I've had dinner with him with groups of people before. So he definitely acts much younger, I think.
He is famous for doing bunny ears.
Bunny ears, yeah, which he's never gotten me with. And I've actually ruined some of his bunny ears unintentionally because he'll be coming up behind someone I'm talking to and I'll be like, oh, hey, Eric, how's it going? And he gets so upset that I've spoiled it. Yes. And I'm like, I didn't know. So I'm just hemming and hawing here because I would guess that the difference is not going to be significant. I would guess that Eric is probably in his early-ish 40s. Oh, man, I'm going to say he's older, but only because I think that's what you would have done for the sake of the game, not because I think he's older. Oh gosh.
You're metagaming now.
Please don't tell me he's my age.
Eric Lang is older. He was born in 1972.
Oh wow, okay.
So a little bit older.
Okay.
But that's a point. We're gonna count it. So from Eric Lang, born in 1972, is Matt Leacock older or younger? Matt Leacock, designer of Pandemic and Forbidden Island and Roll Through the Ages.
I'm going to say Matt Leacock is younger than Eric Lang.
Matt Leacock is older than Eric Lang.
Oh.
He was born in 1971.
Okay, so not by a lot.
Not by a lot.
I think a year.
But yeah, Matt Leacock looks very young.
He does. He looks very young. And honestly, so I'm trying to use what information I have about the world, and the name Matt or Matthew, while it is biblical, I feel like was more popular closer to people my age. So that's kind of where I was going with that.
Okay. Matt Leacock, born in 1971, is Stefan Feld older or younger than Matt Leacock?
So we're talking 48, older or younger. Stefan Feld. He's got so many really popular games, but that really isn't a gauge of somebody's age anymore. I mean, Wolfgang Warsch is really young. I didn't know what Wolfgang Warsch looked like until somewhat recently, and I was shook when I saw him. I was like, wait, how are you so brilliant? I don't know how old he is, but he looks incredibly young. Much younger than me, I think, unless I'm crazy. But we're going to say, wait, who are we talking about again?
Is Stefan Feld older or younger than Matt Leacock?
We're going to, okay, chat, what are you guys saying? You guys are saying older. So I'm going to go with the chat and blame them if I'm wrong. I'm going to say older.
Chat knows what it's doing. Stefan Feld was born in 1970.
Okay. These little small gaps, you're making it tough. I like it.
Yeah. I'm mean. Okay. Stefan Feld, 1970. Is Jamie Stegmaier older or younger than Stefan Feld?
Younger. I'm not even gonna like. I don't think have I met Jamie in person. I don't know. Younger is definitely my answer here.
Any guess on how much younger?
Ooh. Okay. So what year was Feld born?
Feld 70? Was born in 1970.
49. I think Jamie Stegmaier is probably like 41, 42-ish. So whatever year that would math out to. That's my guess.
Well, you're correct. Stegmaier is younger than Feld. He was born in 1981.
What? He's only 3 years, so he's 38?
He's
Whoa. He is. And also, that makes me feel a little bit bad about the things I've accomplished in my life. But hey, it's fine. I've got 3 years.
Chad is saying younger by a mile. Yes, you're all right.
Yes, no, younger I knew, but how much younger, that was what I was not sure about.
So, Jamie Stegmaier.
Mm-hmm.
Reiner Knizia. Older or younger?
Older. There's no way Knizia has been famous for as long as he has and designed that many titles and be younger than 38. And if he is, I'm getting up and I'm leaving my office right now.
Okay. You're right. Any guess on how much?
I'm going to say Knizia is 51, whatever that maths out to.
Knizia was born on November 16th, 1957.
Ooh, so that means he's 62?
62, yeah.
Okay.
62.
For the record, I'm always going to skew younger when I'm making these guesses if I can. Whatever. But yeah.
I actually had to do a big gap just so that I could sort of get into a new position to talk about some new folks. Eventually, you have to get to the extreme, and then it's the tough part with these games. So that one was a bit of a gimme. Reiner Knizia, this is question number 8. You're doing very well. You've gotten 5 so far.
Okay.
Is Richard Garfield, designer of Magic the Gathering and King of Tokyo, older or younger than Reiner Knizia?
Okay, so for the record, I do not know how old Richard Garfield was when he designed Magic the Gathering, but I know Magic came out in the early to mid-90s, and if I had to guess, Richard Garfield was probably around 30 at that point, which would make him born in the mid-60s. So, what year was Knizia born?
Knizia was born in 1957.
57. I'm going to say Richard Garfield is younger by about 6 to 7 years. That's my guess.
6 years, huh?
Yeah.
Richard Garfield was born June 26th, 1963. 6 years.
Nice!
6 Honestly, years after Knizia.
It's funny because I'm trying to use logic, and it feels like a lot of designers' big hits often tend to come around kind of that 30-year age mark, and that for a person to design a game like Magic the Gathering, that fit. So, yeah.
Very good logic. Okay, question number 9 from Richard Garfield. Klaus Teuber, designer of Catan, older or younger than Richard Garfield?
I feel like Klaus was, I know I've heard stories about how Catan got designed, and I feel like Klaus was older even when Catan got designed. I don't think he was a young designer, so I'm going to say older.
Teuber is older. It was June 25th, 1952.
Okay.
You're sort of figuring all this out.
A little bit, and
Darn
it's
logic.
weird. I didn't think I was going to be good at this, but luckily my knowledge of games is helping, even if my knowledge of people is not always great.
Last question from Klaus Teuber: is Wolfgang Kramer of the Kramer and Kiesling design team older or younger than Teuber?
I know very little about Wolfgang Kramer, so rather than trying to logic it out, I'm just going to say younger.
Kramer is the oldest on my list.
Oh, okay.
He was born June 29th, 1942.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And still is designing games, which is fantastic.
That is awesome.
So, not a bad score. 7 out of 10, Crystal.
I'll take it.
Well done.
Yeah. That's a fun little birthday themed game. And I said it in the chat, but I wanted to say it out loud. Thank you to everybody who typed in some birthday wishes to me earlier in the stream. I really, really, really appreciate it. And all I ask is for my birthday is if you could do one nice thing for somebody this week that you would not have normally done, or something just a little bit above and beyond. It could be holding a door. It could be whatever you want, buying the coffee for somebody behind you in line. That's my birthday wish, is that you guys do some extra special good deeds, acts of kindness, especially because this time of year, when you're out in public, people get stressed and busy from Christmas shopping and all of that nonsense. So try and make somebody's day a little bit brighter. On my behalf, please and thank you.
So, moving on to our topic of discussion for today, we are not quite fresh out of PAX, but that, it was, I guess, 2 weekends ago now. But this was your first PAX Unplugged, Crystal, and I wanted to pick your brain and find out what you thought about the event and what you enjoyed or didn't enjoy, and just what your general impression of PAX was.
So this was my first PAX Unplugged, and it was actually my first PAX anything. I've never been to any of the main PAX conventions either. It's always been on my, big long list of, oh yeah, that's a thing I'll do at some point, or I would like to do. But I've never been to any of the PAX conventions, even though I do play video games as well as board games. It was delightful. Honestly, so really, the vibe at PAX Unplugged was different than any other board game conventions I've been to in ways that are kind of hard to describe. The crowds felt more diverse. The staffing levels of volunteers felt higher, meaning there were volunteers in more prominent places more frequently. At least, again, this is all just from my personal experience, what I noticed. It's not necessarily representative of everyone's experience, but I felt the presence of the enforcers, their volunteer security people, more so than I have at other board game conventions, which honestly, especially as a woman who was traveling alone, that's always nice. And speaking of women, there were a lot of women at this convention, more so than at most of the board game conventions that I've been to. And I've noticed that the number of women attending conventions has been increasing over the years that I've been going to conventions. But at PAX, it felt like there was more parity than ever, which was really kind of neat. This is gross. I'm sorry. I have to say it, though. My litmus test is if I go into a women's bathroom in the convention hall and it's pristine and everything is super clean and nice, it doesn't smell at all, everything's great, then that's a bad thing, because then that means the women's restroom isn't getting used that often. Well, at PAX Unplugged, that was not the case. And I'm not saying that convention staff wasn't taking care of things, but when you have enough people using a restroom, it gets grosser. And that was definitely the case at PAX Unplugged, and I consider that to be a very good thing. But it was big. It's weird, though, even though it was technically attendee-wise, a third-ish of the size of Gen Con, it felt very similar to Gen Con, only because I think when you hit a certain number of people, it's a lot of people. You're not seeing all of them.
Yes. I didn't really feel the crush of people at this event. I mean, I knew it was busy. I don't know what the final numbers were. Did you hear a final number?
I didn't. Attendance? I believe last year it was 25,000.
Is it that high?
22,000? Something like it was in the 20,000s.
It was low 20s, but
that But I don't know for this year. I have not heard numbers.
I heard bigger than last year. But I think they've made good use of the space. The Philadelphia Convention Center was, again, not all utilized. They could still use more space in that venue, and not be not be overcrowded. So that's a good sign. It's It felt active, but still with plenty of room to grow. The aisles in the exhibit hall were nice and wide, which means they could squeeze more people in there. Not that I want them to squeeze that many more in there, but they could. It really did feel like an active event. And the one thing you mentioned with staffing at PAX has always been like the gold standard of convention coverage. If we had a Dice Tower booth, and we had our own enforcer, that's what they call the volunteers, that was assigned to our cluster of booths. And his job was to come by and make sure that we were happy, that we needed, if we needed anything, he would figure out what to do. We had some questions about loading and unloading at the end of the day, at the end of the event, and he figured it out. He got us the information we needed. In comparison to some other events where if something happens, you need to run to a booth halfway across the convention floor and get someone to help you or convince them to help you. Whereas there was an enforcer just nearby that you could flag down relatively quickly at this event, which was great.
And I want to give a shout out to Matt Morgan, who I know plays a big role in the volunteer scheduling and a lot of the behind the scenes stuff at PAX Unplugged, and did just a wonderful job with everything and always does. So if people don't know who that is, you should know that name because they're doing a great job.
Yes, indeed. In fact, I interacted with Matt today. One of my friends lost her wallet, and she's trying to figure out where it went in between a volunteer finding it and being turned over to the building security, and they're still trying to track it down, but he was very responsive and helped me out. So that's he's still doing a great job for PAX.
Very cool. Yeah, no, it was wonderful. Like you said, the aisles were wider. I definitely was able to get from place A to place B more easily at PAX than at Gen Con. And it didn't feel as overwhelming as Gen Con did. But that's hard for me to compare because Gen Con was my first huge board game convention at all. So I had no point of reference. And now having done Gen Con and done PAX, it felt like a similar experience, but a little less stressful at PAX Unplugged. Still tons of awesome booths, lots of great companies showing off pretty much everything that you could possibly imagine, including, so here's something that I really liked that PAX did, is they had a first look area in the convention hall where they had a whole bunch of board games set up on the tables that you could go play. And a whole bunch of those games were direct from Tokyo Game Market, which that's really cool. Obviously, it's hard to get Japanese games in the States still. It's getting easier. Companies like Oink Games are making that easier. But Big Cat Games was at PAX Unplugged. They were showing off a bunch of their own titles, and they also brought other stuff over from Tokyo Game Market. I met with Ayeko from Big Cat Games and actually purchased a game of theirs called Nokosu Dice, which is a dice drafting trick-taking game, which I am fully in love with right now. Yeah. I might, maybe on our next episode, I will show you that one if I don't have anything more exciting to talk about, because it's really fun. But they had the new Oink game, Fafnir. They had the new game from Sashi and Sashi, which I don't remember the name of, but it's...
Let's Remember Our Journey, or...
Remember Our Trip or something like that.
That just arrived actually here today. So.
Ooh, I'm jealous. I did not get to play it. They had the Makaroishka, the one with the colorful macaroons that looked like they were Matryoshka doll macaroons that stacked inside one another. And it was an area control abstract something or other game. I didn't get to play that one either. But so many games from Tokyo Game Market, and that's important. Visibility for those types of games will only make more people interested, which will make Japanese companies go, oh, we should be distributing in the United States. And so it's going to make those games more widely available, and that's a good thing for everybody.
Yeah, I was hanging out in the first look area for a little bit. I didn't get away for too long, but I played The Crew or Die Crew, which is a Cosmos cooperative trick taking game, which is very cool. It's not going to be out in English, I think, until early next year. But the German version was there with English rules, and we got to try out a bunch of rounds. Really fun. So, like, each round you play, you have to get certain cards taken by certain players. So, like, round one, you might need the yellow 3 needs to be taken by a particular player. And you have to figure out as a group, without discussing it, how to get that person to take the yellow 3, which might require using trump cards or winning certain tricks, getting other cards out of your hand in order to get that card where it needs to go. Really fun. Good times.
It kind of feels like trick-taking games are having a little bit of a moment right now. Not like roll and write games have been over the past couple of years, but I've seen more unique trick-taking games popping up. Although Nokosu Dice was originally published in 2016, I believe, but I don't think it's gotten over here until just now with the English rules and all of that. So, but yeah, I love trick-taking games when I was younger. Like that's when I was a kid, I played hearts and spades and presidents all the time. And as I got older, I moved away from that stuff. And I'm kind of moving back towards some of that stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah. One thing that I spent a good amount of time doing at PAX this year, I was involved with the filming of a program called Above Board. This is Travis Oates is putting this together. He's the host of this program. In fact, he was on the Dice Tower's Gen Con show showing a clip of this. They're still shopping it around to various networks and streaming services, so I don't know where it's going to air or when it's going to air. They don't know that yet. But I got to film a bit of a sketch, like a recurring sketch with them around the halls and just be basically goofy. Which I hope people are able to see very soon. But that took up a good amount of time as well, between the booth and filming with them. So this was a more whirlwind convention for me than it's been in the past. Usually I've got some more wandering time, which is fine because I don't need to buy any more games. I still came home with a few. I picked up some for my kids, but I didn't make as many purchases at this convention as I normally would.
I didn't make a lot of purchases either. I did buy Nokosu Dice, and I did buy Fafnir, the new Oink game. I played it in the first look section, and then promptly walked over to the Oink booth and purchased it. I just love Oink games so much. But something else that PAX had that felt pretty unique compared to other board game conventions was the classic cardboard room. Did you get a chance to wander in there at all?
I walked by it a couple times and sort of poked my head in. I saw more pictures from there than I actually, entered the room.
Oh, so I hung out in that room.
I figured you did.
Yeah, they had an entire, I don't know how to describe the size, like a large-ish room with lots of tables. And if I had to guesstimate the number of games, probably in the vicinity of 200 to 300 different old games.
Wow.
Everything from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Like I took a video of the entire like game library in there, and there were a ton of games, including VCR games with an actual TV and VCR hooked up. Nice. So you could play the VCR games. And I will say I felt so bad because we saw that they had the VCR Clue mystery game. And I was like, oh, I have to see this. And so we put the tape in the player and nothing happened.
Oh, no.
And we were like...
It ate it?
It ate it. It ate the tape, like, immediately. Nothing played. And obviously, we didn't do it. The tape was so old, and but I felt really bad that we were the ones that made the tape get eaten. And so we called the enforcer over, and I was like, I'm so sorry. So prior to that, we had actually popped in a different tape that did work. It was a Joan Rivers soap opera game. It was horrible. We didn't even play. We were going to, and we put the tape in and started watching, and I was like, I cannot.
I vaguely recall that existing.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
will say I love cheesy old VCR games. That's not one to seek out, but
It's
there were a lot
interesting
of
though that's an emphasis that I think comes from PAX's roots as a video game convention, because I'm sure they have old school video game rooms where you're playing the old Atari stuff, or classic arcade machines, and so that just sort of has translated into the old board game room, which is kind of cool. It's something that PAX does that others don't really.
Yeah. Well, and I think there were more people at this convention that kind of don't have that like jaded board gamer mentality about old games. Like there were a lot of people in there playing things like Monopoly and Battleship and things that I think modern hobby gamers tend to kind of turn their nose up at sometimes. And I definitely found a copy of Rummikub and broke it out and played it, which I'd been talking about recently that I wanted to play again. We were talking about the copy that my sister ended up with. And I played Rummikub, and it was delightful. I still like it just as much as I did when I was a kid. So that was a really fun discovery to make.
Now you know you need to get a copy.
I really do, or steal my sister's.
So anything else that you want to say about PAX before we get into questions for the end of the show?
I know we're getting close. I would say the other stuff that I would want to mention, the Mega Game was really neat. So the same group that did Mega Games at Dice Tower Con, not this past year, but the year before,
right,
did a Mega Game here. They did a bunch of sessions of the same game. It was called the Helios Conspiracy. It is a different game than the ones they ran at Dice Tower Con. Yep. But Scott Silsby is the head of this organization. Is it the Mega Game Society? No. I don't remember the name.
I don't remember. But Scott is very, very good at this stuff.
Yes, and I was on a team with Jeff Engelstein, Stephen Bonacore, and a few other people. And we ended up tying for first place in our session. It was funny, though, because when they called our name, we were the Romanov family in this scenario. And when they called our name to go into the room, all of the other teams booed us. But it felt like really good. Like, yeah, because we were the family that like controlled all the diamonds and everything else. So nice. It was a really neat experience. Very puzzly, more so than other Mega Games I've played in the past. But it was a neat experience. So
very cool.
Yeah.
A few people mentioning games that they played, or maybe this is not at PAX, just in general. Pod 6 is saying that their group really likes Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. It's a $10 card game that I have never heard of. Is that one you have encountered before, Crystal?
I have not, but I will eat anything that has goat cheese on it, including pizza. So
excellent. Someone, when we were just finishing with the game, but as we were heading into the topic, suggested that I should have put Rob Daviau on the list, and that might have been a good one to guess. I actually did research Rob, but he was close to some of the other designers, and I thought he was too close to them to be fair. But okay. Any guess, Crystal, on where Rob would fall in that continuum?
I would guess that Rob Daviau is 47.
You're pretty close. Yeah? Rob was born in 1970, making him 49.
Hey, okay. Yeah. There was one tiny other thing about PAX that I wanted to mention, Eric.
Yes.
A bunch of people had told me that I needed to go to the Unpub room, which I've not really been to a lot of Unpub events before. And Peter C. Hayward was in the Unpub room showing off a game that he didn't design, but he's developing and wants to publish, called French Toast. I don't know if it'll eventually be called French Toast, but it is now. It's a really simple cooperative party game where, there's a deck of cards that all have objects on them. So let's say I pick up a card and the object is bicycle, and I'm trying to get the rest of the group to guess that word. All the other people in the group are able to do is name objects to me in turn order. So let's say you said building. I then have to determine whether a bicycle is closer to French toast or a building. And I would say in my head, right, like, which is it more similar to? And I would say, okay, a bicycle is more similar to a building than French toast. So all I'm allowed to do is repeat the word back to you. So I either say French toast or I say building. So I say building. Now you get to ask me, and you get to name another object, and I'm comparing the new object. It's building, bicycle, new object. So you continue down a line of objects trying to get people closer and closer to the thing that's on the card. I know it's a little weird, but so fascinating. We ended up, and there's adjective cards that can help modify things to make it easier. We ended up in a game where they were trying to get me to guess bathtub. At one point, it was a damp shopping cart. What's the thing that because like we were using adjectives to try and narrow things down, but then the damp shopping cart became a lake. And it was like the person that's giving clues is struggling because they're like, well, wait, is a damp shopping cart closer to a bathtub than a lake? No, not really. The lake is closer. But like, it was fascinating and so much fun. And Peter was kind of deciding whether he wanted to publish this under his company, Jelly Bean Games. And as we were playing, he wrote in his notes, definitely make this game. So I just wanted to say it out loud. Keep an eye out from Jelly Bean Games in probably sometime next year on Kickstarter, French Toast. I loved it. I want to play it more.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like the suggestion in the chat coming that we should interpret that into one of our games at some point and try that out.
I mean, I could definitely play that here. We could make that. I could homebrew that for sure.
I'm looking forward to that. Brant Sanderson pops in to say, in his continuing quest to get me to play Castell, I have not yet. In fact, I was at the retreat, the Dice Tower retreat, and said, all right, I'm finally going to play Castell. It was not in the library.
What?
I was ready to play it, and no, that didn't happen. So
right,
Brant says that you need to make that happen on the cruise or Dice Tower West.
Does that mean I have to bring it? Because that's... like, why is it not in the library?
That's true. It would have to get there somehow.
Tom, I know you're not watching this, but Tom, so everybody, no, don't email Tom and tell him to put Castell in the library. He'll yell at me later. Don't do that. But if Tom asks for library suggestions in the near future, tell him Castell needs to be in the library, please.
I mean, I want to wear the hat.
Yeah, that is not the best part, but it is definitely an enjoyable part of the experience.
It is a part. All right. So, Chris, someone's asking you to come to the next retreat.
I would love to. I would come to every single board game convention and retreat and Unpub and excursion and everything if I could. Unfortunately, I do like taking vacations where I can kind of decompress and not have to be on all the time. And for the record, I love socializing with people at conventions. It's not unfun for me. I enjoy it thoroughly, but it exhausts me. So sometimes I do like to take vacations where I get to take a break. But maybe we'll see. Who knows?
I will say that when I am on the Dice Tower cruise, there are times that I wander off and do something non-board game related, or just go take a nap sometimes, because it is a vacation, which is nice.
So we'll be able to answer a couple more questions if you all drop any more in the chat, but we are going to end here in just a couple of minutes because in just 7 short minutes, 7 minutes, Mandy and Suzanne are going to be doing Apptastic for the first time. Please, you all, I bet you all have been on Twitch before. You know how you go raid somebody on Twitch when someone's stream ends? We want you to go raid Mandy and Suzanne's chat and tell them how awesome they are and tell them how excited you are for their show. Please stick around. It will not be the same stream feed here. You will have to click over into the Dice Towers channel and then click on the Apptastic stream. But please, please, please go over there and show them your support. This is their first show. And we so unkindly moved our show to be right in front of theirs. So
which
we need
we
you all
will
to
do
go...
next week as well, just because we're trying to avoid Christmas. But then we're actually going to do 2 weeks in a row to sort of get back into an every other Wednesday thing. So eventually, early next year, will be one week will be our show, and 1 week will be Apptastic, and we'll have a little more room to breathe. But right now, we're leading into their show.
Absolutely. Sorrow Song asks me what my favorite birthday present was, either this year or in my life. It's really hard for me to kind of remember sometimes because my birthday's in December. A lot of times birthday and Christmas kind of get combined. I was really lucky and thankful that when I turned 18, my parents gave me a computer, which was really cool and helpful when I left for college. And I got a Nintendo Switch a couple of years ago from my husband, and I've gotten a lot of use out of that. So those are probably anything that's digital toys are usually. Ooh, my Oculus Rift that I got last year.
Nice.
I've had a lot of fun with that. The VR is really, really neat.
Okay, I think we probably need to wrap things up. There was a quick question about Origins 2020. I haven't even looked at anything happening in Origins 2020. That's too far away from me right now. But yes, so someone was asking, can you clarify, when is the next Dice Tower Tonight? In 2 weeks. It will be New Year's Day, so this is our last Dice Tower Tonight of 2019, but we'll be able to kick things off with another Dice Tower Tonight New Year's Day, followed immediately, I believe, by Apptastic, assuming they're doing another one in 2 weeks, and then we will do another one on the 8th so that we can sort of begin that alternating schedule.
Yep, and we will mention this on the 1st as well, but for those of you who want to attend Dice Tower West, badge sales end on January 6th. So if you do not have your badges for Dice Tower West yet, please do that immediately, because we do not want you to miss out coming to Las Vegas and seeing my smiling face, Eric's smiling face, all the smiling faces here in my city. But yeah, I think that's probably about it for us, isn't it?
Let's do it.
All right, so until 2 weeks from now, I'm Crystal Pisano.
I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been watching Dice Tower Tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Stay tuned for the premiere of Apptastic with Mandy and Suzanne, and Crystal and I will see you in 2 weeks for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thanks. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me, with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike DeLisio, Roy Kennedy, and Rob Searing. That time we hired Mrs. Von Trapp to hand out gifts at the holiday party provided by Santa Maria. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek, on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at dicetower@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming.
And also please click the thumbs up below the video. I forgot to ask earlier.
And Merry Christmas!
And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody!